All right, let's get right into it. For what feels like forever, all the talk has been about China. But you have to wonder, is the tide finally turning? We're going to tackle one of the biggest questions in global finance right now. Is India the absolute best place to be putting your money? And look, this isn't just hype. A recent survey of Japanese expats in Asia really cuts through all the noise. For the second year in a row, they've picked India as the most promising spot. Now, this isn't just wishful thinking, it's a huge signal from some of the sharpest investors out there. So, what exactly are they seeing?
So, how on earth did India become this new investor darling? Well, to really get it, you've got to take a quick look back at where things stood just a decade ago. Yeah, let's rewind about 10 years. Back then, market analysts had a less than flattering nickname for India. It was lumped in with the Fragile Five. Basically, this was a club you did not want to be in, a group of emerging economies that were seen as way too vulnerable to any kind of global economic hiccup. But wow, what a difference a decade can make. As Shiv Siegel from Nuvama Capital Markets points out, India has gone from being fragile to being an investor darling. And you know, the really amazing part isn't just the change, it's the speed. This has to be one of the most dramatic economic turnarounds of our time. And the future? It looks even more incredible. The IMF is projecting that by 2028, and hey, that's just a few years away, India is on track to blow past Japan and Germany to become the world's third largest economy. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What are the actual numbers powering this massive growth engine? Let's look at the hard data behind all the headlines. As of right now, India's economy is a behemoth, clocking in at $3.7 trillion. That already makes it the fifth largest in the world. So, you know, we're not talking about some small up-and-coming market anymore. This is a global powerhouse. But here's the thing that's really mind-blowing: the growth. The World Bank is forecasting that India's GDP will grow at 6.6% in fiscal year 26. To put that in perspective, that makes it the fastest-growing major economy on the entire planet. And this isn't some kind of reckless, out-of-control growth either. The government is really focused on stability. They're aiming to bring the fiscal deficit down to just 4.5% of GDP by 2026. That's the kind of move that signals a mature, disciplined approach to running the show. And when you actually see India's growth rate lined up next to other major economies, the contrast is just stark. It's not just that India is leading the pack. For the next few years, it's projected to be in a whole different league. Okay, so the big picture looks incredibly strong, but where are the actual opportunities for investors? Let's zoom in a bit and spotlight some of the sectors that are absolutely on fire right now. First up, artificial intelligence. I mean, the AI market in India is just exploding. It's on track to hit $17 billion by 2027. You've got companies like Persistent Systems and Afla India leading the way, weaving AI into everything from banking to medicine and just completely changing the game. Then you've got renewable energy. India is already the world's third largest producer, but they have this incredibly ambitious goal: 500 gigawatts of renewable capacity by 2030. That's driven by huge government policies like the National Solar Mission. So you know this sector is just primed for massive expansion. If you want to understand the sheer scale of India's digital revolution, look no further than this number. The country's UPI platform, that's their digital payment system, is now processing over 9 billion transactions every single month. That's just a staggering figure that shows you how deep fintech has become in the daily lives of over 1 billion people. And of course, we have to talk about healthcare. There's a reason India is called the pharmacy of the world. Think about it. It produces more than 60% of all global vaccines, and its pharma exports are booming. They crossed $25 billion last year. It's really a story of both incredible global impact and serious economic muscle. So, the opportunities are clearly there. But for an investor outside of India, how do you actually get a piece of the action? Let's break down the practical ways money flows in. So, the main term you're going to hear over and over is FPI. That stands for Foreign Portfolio Investor. It sounds complicated, but it's really just the official name for any foreign company or person investing in India's public markets, like stocks. And there are basically 3 main roads you can take. The first is that FPI route we just talked about, buying stocks and bonds right on the open market. The second is Foreign Direct Investment, or FDI. That's more about taking a strategic, long-term stake in a specific company. And the third route, which is growing super fast, is through alternate investment funds, which can give you access to things like private equity and major infrastructure projects. And believe me, these alternate routes are becoming a very big deal. By March of 2023, these AIFs had already locked in commitments of around $100 billion. That tells you that investors are getting way more sophisticated and comfortable finding different ways to tap into India's growth story.
But of course, no investment story is all sunshine and rainbows. We've got to have a clear-eyed look at the challenges, right? So what are the risks that any smart investor needs to keep on their radar? It's really a tale of two sides. On the one hand, the opportunities are enormous. A massive consumer base, a middle class that's growing like crazy, and a young population. But on the flip side, the risks are real. The regulatory environment can be complex to navigate. The markets can be volatile, and India plays a very tricky geopolitical game with its multi-alignment strategy. Basically, staying friends with Western countries and with nations like Russia.
So, with all of that on the table, the potential upside here is so big that it's starting to draw some really fascinating comparisons to major moments in history. And here's that name again, Shiv Sahgal. He makes this powerful argument that India today feels a lot like the US did after the 1980s. Back then, you had this perfect storm of deregulation, a young population, and a flood of new retail investors jumping into the market. And what happened? It kicked off one of the biggest equity booms in history. He sees those exact same ingredients bubbling up in India right now.
So this is really the bottom line. You have this huge demographic advantage, you have incredible growth, and you have a government that's actively pushing for reforms. All the pieces of the puzzle really seem to be falling into place, which leaves us with one final and pretty provocative question. Are we right now witnessing the very beginning of India's next great equity boom?